The paycheck to paycheck lifestyle. How to escape it. Each month, people in this country are struggling to make ends meet. According to a recent survey from Charles Schwab, 59% of adults in the US are living paycheck to paycheck. And I don't think it's an overstatement to say that living paycheck to paycheck is regarded as an unpleasant way to live life. There's no other way to put it. In a world brimming with opportunities, and in a land regarded as the richest in the world, living paycheck to paycheck is only selling yourself short. It's often synonymous with living in the moment, where you only have enough for that specific period. I can remember many times in the past when hopelessness silently crept up on me, as I used the last dollar in my wallet to balance the debts of the previous month. It would leave me worried and stressed of how I would get by through the new month. For many people, this could mean going home to eat what you can find and possibly down a few drinks before you sleep, while still stressing over all your woes, only for you to repeat the same thing the next day, the next month, and even the next year. In this lifestyle, you're trapped living in a cycle where you're working to pay off debts. Your savings are not increasing, and you cannot even afford to invest in your retirement plans. As an enemy of financial freedom, living paycheck to paycheck can lead to serious consequences. It's not a sustainable financial plan. It breeds financial insecurity, which is a threat to mental health. Health experts have in fact warned that relentless stressing about money can undermine a person's sense of self-worth and personal meaning, a pattern of thinking that can lead to clinical depression and even suicidal thoughts and behaviors. Living paycheck to paycheck puts you at risk of accumulating debt. Not only will debt payments eat away at your limited earnings, but they can also damage your credit. The more debt you pile up, the more likely you are to default on payments, which can seriously drag down and ruin your credit score. Moreover, you'll have no room to deal with unplanned bills. For example, your car may break down, your home may be damaged, or you could get injured. What then? You see, I know a couple of friends who are living the paycheck life unconsciously. And just because they're making enough money to pay for their daily life necessities and a few extra things here and there, at the end of some months they would get a loan or ask me or some of my other friends for financial aid. But the thing is, they don't realize that they have a financial self-discipline issue. So if you can relate to the scenario I just painted, and if you're tired of living that kind of life, then in today's video, we'll be sharing with you practical tips which you can use to escape living paycheck to paycheck. Automate your savings. Although this is the last method, saving should be by no means the last thing you do. It should actually be one of the very first, if not the first thing you do when money lands in your account. The moment you receive your paycheck, you should put aside at the very least 10% into an interest-earning savings account. And I highly recommend that you automate this process so that the moment you receive your paycheck, 10% is automatically transferred into your savings account. If you want to take this a step further, you can buy and hold index funds, invest in stocks, bonds, and so on. Limit your credit card usage. This is a tricky one because countless number of people will turn to their credit card to purchase everything from the mundane to life's emergencies. I know a lot of people who purchase just about everything on their credit cards, and I see a lot of this with a few of my friends. Whenever we go out anywhere and they want to make a purchase, the first thing they do is to remove their credit cards and swipe. And I get it, it's easy, it's convenient, and it's somewhat fun. But you see, the thing is, as convenient as credit cards are, many people aren't consciously aware or realize the interest they're also paying on that purchase. To leave the paycheck to paycheck lifestyle, you have to limit your credit card use because the debt does pile up, and fast. According to a 2019 Experian Consumer Credit Review, on average, Americans carry $6,194 in credit card debt. This is a huge burden which you don't want to have to carry. The rule of thumb when it comes to credit cards is only use them in emergency cases. Don't compare yourself to what your friends or family have. A lot of people, and me included, struggle with this one. We all live in a very materialistic society, and this reigns true whichever part of the world you come from. Everybody cares about what people think about them, what they're wearing, what they drive, where they live, what they eat, or even who they hang out with. I used to care so much about what people think about me, what clothes or shoes I was wearing, what phone or watch I was rolling with, who I was talking to, and what I was spending my money on, plus many other trivial things, which in hindsight when I look back were absolutely ridiculous. Of course, I'm much older and wiser now, and have somehow grown out of it. I've come to realize that I don't really care much about what people think of me, and although by grace I've managed to overcome this social pressure, this is something I personally know a lot of people still struggle with. What I like to think is that, if you're personally comfortable with the way your life is, an example what you wear, where you live, or what you drive, then own up to that. Because I noticed, although one or two people might criticize you, most people have a lot of their own personal issues, and they don't really care much about you. Plus, personally speaking, going into debt just to receive a few compliments isn't worth the stress of having to pay back the loan, if you ask me. Understand your spending habits. Aside from cutting down on your expenditure, you have to take a step back and take a look at your spending habits. It's only reasonable for you to have a grasp on where your money is going and be able to track your expenses fully. You see, if you know where your money is going, you can control it. When you start going on this fact-finding mission, like I mentioned earlier, you may start finding leaks you weren't aware of before, which have been eating your money. But now, because you know where your money is going, you can plug the leaks. As great as all this sounds, you won't be able to do this if you don't keep track of your spending. Owe no one nothing, but to love them. Like I said earlier, people love spending money, which they don't have. And that's why a lot of them are in such a big financial mess. If you keep piling up debt, it can easily sink you into a very big financial mess. And it will unfortunately become increasingly harder to leave the paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle. Debt is one of those tools that, if used correctly, can in fact prosper you. But unfortunately, not a lot of people know how to use it correctly. So the safest thing to do is to avoid it as much as possible. Every time you're paying off your debts, it's interest on money which you could have saved. All the interests, the fees, and the settlements which banks charge erode a lot of people's money. Getting rid of debts is the most important step to make towards living a financially stress-free life. Unfortunately, not a lot of people can control their desires, which unfortunately leads them into this muddle. Reduce your spending. This one goes hand in hand with our previous tip. When it comes to making smart money decisions and your ultimate goal, to live a financially free lifestyle, cutting down on your spending might sound like an oxymoron, but it's actually one of the first and most crucial things you should do. To reduce your spending is to save on items and areas where you're being careless with your very hard-earned money. Spending every dime you earn, just like my friends, is what landed you in this mess in the first place. So when it comes to this issue, you have to be very disciplined with yourself and make sure you stick to your budget. I'm sure you've heard the saying, leaking holes sinks the ship. And the same thing can be said about money. So what you need to do is to first find out areas where you're carelessly spending your money, and then cut them out. And one of the best ways to do this is by tracking your spending. In the real sense of the word, this is easier said than done. But if you're patient enough to track your spending for, say, about a month, you should be able to identify the leaky areas and make some adjustments, or plug the holes, essentially cutting it out. One of the most significant ways to save money is to make effective and efficient lifestyle changes, like eating out less, opting for a less expensive car, or choosing to pay less rent. These changes are sure to free up some money for you to save. The more you reduce your spending, the faster you can break free from the paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle. It may not be possible to make big and drastic changes to your lifestyle right away, but you can start with the small details. Try to look for the smaller items in your budget that you can cut out. Maybe trim your grocery spending, make use of coupons, or reduce on entertainment by choosing to invest in activities like reading, which is sure to improve your mental capacity. Make a budget that prioritizes saving. So, everyone knows that they should control their spending, right? And one of the best ways to do this is to live on a budget. However, although you might be thinking, okay, that's so obvious, not everyone thinks so. According to consumer debt statistics and demographics in America, the typical American household now carries an average debt of over $137,000. And although, yes, most of this debt is considered good debt, aka a house mortgage, a good amount of this debt is due to lifestyle inflation. For some reason, people love spending money they don't have, but we'll talk about this later. So one of the things you can do to leave the paycheck-to-paycheck lifestyle is to take control of where your money is going and deciding to set some aside. Create a detailed budget that fully accounts for every dollar you spend. Make a budget for the amount you spend on things such as your groceries, rent, utilities, transport, entertainment, and so on. Then proceed to budget some to save. Even if your initial savings look so little, start anyways, and in time you'll watch it only grow. Start something on the side that pays immediately. We live in a digital world, brimming with many online businesses and platforms. It's really an interconnected world, with many people desiring to get something done, one way or the other, usually in the fastest way possible. Hence, one of the best ways you can make some extra money, and hopefully in the long run, gain your financial freedom, is to start a side hustle away from your 9-to-5 job. To live a financially secure life, you have to find ways to create other streams of income. It's said that an average millionaire has 7 streams of income, but you don't necessarily have to be a millionaire to have several sources of income. If you can find ways to make a few extra dollars here and there, it's still better than nothing. Deciding to focus on your career and waiting till you start making a six-figure salary isn't a bad thing, but it will sure take time. Plus, it comes with the risk of possibly being laid off in the future if things go south. Some of my friends make a few extra $100 and even $1,000 online on digital platforms such as YouTube, Fiverr, Shutterstock, and the like. And I know a guy who makes a few extra $1,000 by selling photos on Shutterstock. So you can definitely make some extra money online. There are many freelance digital marketplaces, and you can do things such as copywriting, freelance editing and writing, web designing, being a graphic artist, social media manager, virtual secretary, and many other side jobs you can easily find. Search it up, and I'm sure you won't miss something to do. So there you have it, guys. Thank you so much for watching.